Viv Govender from Rand Swiss Offshore joins us now for a look into the day's trading session. Hi Viv, good to chat to you once again. All right, the Rand has been very strong against the dollar. We saw a little bit of a reversal today, the dollar gaining a bit of ground. What happened there?
Yeah, look, I think it's a case of a bit of a return to the mean. I mean, if you look at the Rand versus the dollar over the last, month or so, I mean, we was above 17 until like mostly end of November, and now we went as low as the low 16s. We just pretty much come back to about 16.44 at the moment, given the low volumes we saw basically at the end of December and the start of January, and the fact that we are seeing a bit of a move come through again, to the start of the year, kind of is partly that. But also we are seeing, for instance, gold coming back a little bit as well, which obviously is one of our bigger exports out there. I do think that the trend, however, for the dollar does seem to be in one direction at the moment anyway.
Yeah. Look, it was bound to happen. It was bound to happen, specifically what's happening in Venezuela. And like you say, it's probably going to continue strengthening our Rand.
Yeah, at least in the short term. I think the fact that some of the stuff that we export benefits from the uncertainty in the world right now, things like, for instance, like you said, Venezuela, does help us. But also, the fact of the matter is we are seeing, for instance, oil prices not being exceptionally high. We are an importer of oil, which does mean that, this is a bit of a positive. Venezuela has, some of the world's largest, I think the world's largest reserves actually are Venezuela. And if we do see that particular market come back online in the way it can, the Chavez administration was bad, but Maduro was terrible in terms of infrastructure, maintenance, etc. And so the amount of oil Venezuela has produced has gone down dramatically. At the same time, we saw the Trump administration being much more aggressive in terms of, embargoing the export of oil from Venezuela. If that ends, then we have, like I said, the world's largest reserves back online. That's going to be very positive for, countries like South Africa, which import oil.
Yeah, I would think this would also affect oil prices as well, Viv, because we saw today what happened. Trump saying that 50 million barrels of oil was now going to be going to the United States. And of course, that has affected oil prices. I suppose it's just a wait and see operation.
Yeah, look, I mean, what thing about oil is it's very vulnerable to sabotage. So if there is a significant, negative reaction among the Venezuelans to what's happening here, we could see, quite a bit of damage being done. That being said, I mean, there's a big argument, in geopolitical circles about just what the outcome is going to be from here. I mean, people say, look at Iran, look at Iraq, look at Syria, look at Libya. The U.S. has not had a great record of, dealing with, effectively regime change. Others say that Venezuela is not like Iraq, and there's a very different kind of mindset there. I would point out, however, that you've had some of the world's longest running insurgencies in places like Colombia, with FARC, etc. And it basically does mean that you could easily see something quite bad happening there. But at the moment, it does appear that we are going to see Venezuelan oil return to the market, at least from the fact that the Trump administration is likely to reduce sanctions on exports of that oil.
And then also as well, I mean, the JSE market cap up today. Our JSE is very robust. Viv, what have you been looking at today? It is quiet trade. I think things will probably pick up from Monday. But what are you looking at the moment?
I'm sorry, I think we have old news on that. I think the market was down today.
Yes, no, it was down today. The all-share at the close was down today. You're quite right in what you're saying. But generally, things have been picking up. What are you seeing at the moment? I'm looking at the individuals. I think Woolies was up today. I think there were a few other ones. It was sort of good news in some circles.
Yeah, in some circles, yeah. I mean, we saw the main drawbacks today were coming from the resource sector. So the gold price coming down was, I think, one of the big negatives here. Oil prices under pressure, so Sasol, the gold miners were the ones that were really under pressure. I do think with regards to, some of the positives, like we saw Woolies, like you said, up, we have seen a very strong, positive reaction for the SA Inc. stocks ever since the election, a year and a half or so ago. And I do think that is a real big positive for the country, because it's much better to see, local, demand driving the market higher, as opposed to things like, for instance, the gold price or commodity prices. So I think that's a bit of a positive that we're seeing there. With regards to the overall market going forward, well, I mean, I could do the glib thing and just say we don't know. It depends which side of the bed Trump gets up, quite frankly. What happened in Venezuela is unprecedented. We have not seen. I heard somebody once say recently, it's almost like we're turning to the kind of Genghis Khan, because even when the Europeans colonized the world, they always did it with some excuse, bringing civilization or having some ulterior positive motive, even though they were quite predatory. you have to go back to Genghis Khan to find times when people just said, you have stuff we want and we're going to take it from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that is what Trump is doing here with regards to Venezuela. The question then arises is that, I would have not thought Venezuela was possible. And I still don't think Greenland is possible as well. But I mean, you have to live with the possibility he does something around Greenland. And that would be, I think, really scary for the world. And also, what does China do with Taiwan? Because what Trump is doing with Venezuela could be very well used as an excuse by China to go against Taiwan, which is obviously a similar kind of situation. Obviously, much more global impact. But I mean, Taiwan has the world's supply of semiconductors. Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves.
Yeah.
These are almost comparable. And I do think that the Monroe Doctrine being produced by Trump is quite dangerous. I think the economic news, the more normal economic news, is going to be, of course, what's happening with inflation globally, as well as what the Fed's policy is going to be going forward, especially this year where the US Fed is going to see a lot of changes in terms of personnel.
Yeah, you're quite right. Right. Your stock pick, what's the one stock that you're watching at the moment?
At the moment, I think everyone needs to have some Alphabet in their portfolio. That's Google. If you don't know, the holding company of Google is called Alphabet. The reason being is that the AI, cycle, who knows what's going to happen there. But if you're looking at one company that encapsulates all the possible advantages of AI, it's Alphabet. It has the chips of NVIDIA. It has the YouTube competing with Netflix. It has obviously Gemini competing with OpenAI, and it also has Waymo competing with things like Uber and Tesla, which is a self-driving facility. So if you're looking at one aspect of AI that you could own through you could own all aspects of AI, I think it's Alphabet, and I think it's something that everybody should have in their portfolio.
Yeah, it was strong last year. It continues to be strong. Viv, thank you. Good to chat to you once again on the close. That was Viv Govender from Rand Swiss Offshore. Well, after the break, we're looking at Pepkor entering the banking sector with analysts at Denker Capital.